I agree, and part of pitting minority groups against one another includes burying solidarity efforts that have existed between them. I'm often asked, why have Asian Americans not shown more solidarity? With respect to the civil rights movement, it's important to keep in mind that before 1965, there were not a lot of Asian Americans because we were excluded from the United States with immigration laws. There were movements like Yellow Peril for Black Power. There were Japanese Americans who supported the civil rights movement, but in 1960, there were less than 1 million Asian Americans. Today, Asian Americans make up about 6% of the United States population, and I'm going to use affirmative action as a simplified illustration to show how you can have a majority of Asian Americans support affirmative action, yet not necessarily feel or be aware of our impact in public advocacy. Let's take a random group of 100 people in the United States, and to make things easier, let's assume that they are over 18 years old. About 6 will be Asian American, but 1/3 of Asian Americans are not fluent in English, and to participate in these conversations requires an understanding of complicated nuance, so only 4 will be able to participate. 70% of Asian Americans support affirmative action, so out of the 4, 1 is leaving because they don't support. The median age of Asian Americans is younger than the median age of the United States generally, so I made a mistake. One of them is not 18, and I'm sending them home to do their homework. That leaves 2 Asian Americans who support affirmative action who are able to act on it. However, the model minority myth upholds Asian Americans as quiet and not protesting, and therefore a lot of Asian Americans have been discouraged from engaging in public advocacy. So one of them is willing to engage in supportive legal action, but you will not see their face or hear their voice, and that leaves 1 Asian American to publicly advocate for affirmative action. But the model minority myth has also conditioned Americans to assume that we are quiet and we don't protest. So oftentimes Asian Americans have a difficult time being seen and being heard when we do speak up. And white supremacy culture and the media aren't going to highlight it because we don't highlight the solidarity efforts of minority groups that we are pitting against one another. But what happened to the Asian American who didn't support affirmative action? White supremacy culture does want to highlight that. So maybe there is a well-funded white conservative legalist who has been attacking affirmative action but not making any headway with white plaintiffs. They connect with the Asian American, make them the plaintiff of a new attack on affirmative action that goes before the Supreme Court when it is packed with conservative justices. If the Supreme Court shoots down affirmative action, that will leave Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color, including lower-income Asian Americans, with more inequality in the higher education system. It will leave Asian Americans holding the bag for the blame, even though a majority of Asian Americans support affirmative action.